Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Carol. I'm a designer and illustrator here at Farm Design. We all know that the creative process is a lot of hard work, from the seed of an idea to actually holding the product in your hand. It's a lot of moving parts. And if you're like me, there are parts in the process where I get stuck and it feels like whatever move I make, it just isn't working. At Farm, we call that noodling, or sometimes we call that waffling, but you can make up your own term. So today at Do Good Work, I'd like to share with you the 3 ways that helped me get unstuck during the creative process. Design is more than just creating pretty pictures. It's visual communication. But sometimes I have an idea and it just doesn't work out. It misses the mark. So I have this internal dialogue asking myself, what do I do? Where do I go from here? What else should I try? So here are 3 things that I do to spark new ideas. Number 1, change your tools. One way you can kickstart your creativity is if you simply changed your tools. A quote by Broaden that really resonates with me is, if you get stuck, draw with a different pen. And the same sentiment applies. If you've been working on the computer and you find yourself getting stuck, maybe pick up a pencil and vice versa. It's a completely different mindset. It's a different workflow. You're moving differently. Instead of clicking the mouse, you're actually moving your hand. What helps me push different ideas when I get stuck is if, let's say I was working on the computer on a packaging project, what I'll do is I'll print out 10 bottles to a page so that they're slightly smaller. That way I'm not caught up with the details, and I sketch. It feels new, and I feel like I get a fresh perspective when I change my tools. Number 2, go back to the project brief. Another thing I like to do when I get stuck in a project is by going back to the project brief. I will have my initial notes from the initial download, but I find that going back to the project brief, I get to refresh my memory, and more than often, I pick up the nuances that I hadn't before. I'll ask myself certain questions like, how else can I communicate friendly or premium or organic? Or if the target audience is the Gen X, what else does a Gen X consumer care about? So go back to the project brief. Maybe group together a different set of words. What other nuggets of information can you pull or push back to generate new ideas? Your project brief is your roadmap. Erin and Christine shared the importance of your project brief in another video. You can click up here or check out the link in the description below. Number 3, accept input from others. Each brand is unique and has their own style. When I illustrate artifacts, sometimes I might have the style down, but the subject might not be right, and the illustration sketch just falls short off the mark. What helps me when I go into this creative rut is to have another pair of eyes take a look at what I'm doing. For example, a recent project we did in Old Pasadena is for Old Pasadena's holiday campaign. I had the illustrations sketched down, but I felt like it just fell short of that emotional impact that we wanted to have with the audience. So what I did was I asked for the team's advice. I wanted them to take a look at what I was doing. I addressed the problem in the illustration. We wanted it to be more whimsy, warm, a sense of place. And we brainstormed for about 10 to 15 minutes, and this is what we came up with. So don't stay in your bubble. Ask your team member, a mentor, a family member whose input you trust. And maybe even just by talking out loud, you'll uncover some new solutions. So these are just 3 ways that help me get myself out of that creative rut. Number 1, change your tools. Number 2, go back to the project brief. And number 3, accept input from others. If you haven't heard them before, try them out. I hope they help. And if you have, keep on doing good work. Everyone has their own process and experience, from being an intern to being a creative director. So I thought it'd be fun if we took a little tour around the office and asked the team, how do you get unstuck? Let's go.
Well, I'm in a little different situation than you guys. I normally don't design as much, so you guys kind of do all the heavy lifting. So I think I have a different approach. Instead of focusing on maybe the tactics or the techniques that you utilize when you get unstuck, I like to take a step back and maybe look at something maybe higher level, which is, I think, mindset. So I would normally focus on not worrying about making it perfect. I think that is like the biggest thing. If you just alleviate the stress of trying to make something so perfect, it creates room for you to find space to explore. And so I would just keep it simple. Look at it in terms of levels, and you always want to think really big picture first. Just get that fuzzy idea, and don't worry about the details and trying to make it perfect so early on, and you're going to find the results a lot quicker.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Erin.
It's hard to pinpoint any specific part of the creative process that's a challenge for me. I could have an off day and anything could be challenging sometimes. But my biggest asset is the person sitting next to me. So I always make it a point, if I get stuck, to ask a friend what their opinion is. And the most important part is to not just say, I'm stuck, can you help me? It's really helpful to explain the scenario and the objective of your project. Explain what your challenges are and the solutions that you've tried to work through so far. And sometimes just talking that out with someone, you can generate ideas a lot quicker. So.
I still get stuck all the time. No shame in going to another designer and asking them what they think. Another part that I can struggle in is the early exploration stage. So there's a stage at the beginning and I can get my designs to a certain place, and usually that's something that's already very obvious and expected. But I think when it comes to pushing the designs, what I like to do to kind of shift my mindset is I try to broaden my scope in search of inspiration. So for example, if I'm working on a canned beer packaging and it's super masculine, I try not to look too much into the beer category. I try to broaden that scope and search on other categories. You can go
maybe even camping,
industrial design. You can go, is it even kombucha? Is it illustrations? And I think that's when you can find something unexpected. And when you're able to do that, that's when things can become a game changer in the concept development stage.
Oh, cool. I have to remember to do that when I'm designing, so I'm not so locked into one specific market.
Yeah, give it a shot. I think it's super helpful for me.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Christine. So you've heard a few things that I like to do when I'm in a creative rut, and also the team's input as to how they go about it in their own process. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching this video. Let us know how you get unstuck in your creative process in the comments below. If you'd like to join our tribe, please subscribe, and life is always better when you do good work.